Thank you. Good morning, members of the media. My name is Peton Daba from the National Consumer Commission. Thank you so much for making time to be part of today's joint virtual media briefing between the National Consumer Commission, the National Prosecuting Authority, as well as the Financial Intelligence Conduct. Like I correctly said, today we are briefing the media virtually in connection with our investigation into Up Money. But before we do that, I'm going to introduce my panel. From my right, I have Advocate Omar Rabaji from the National Prosecuting Authority. I have Acting Commissioner from the National Consumer Commission, Me Tezimabuza. Far left, I have Mr. Joseph Silolo, who is the National Consumer Commission's acting secretary. Like I said, yes, we are briefing the media about a pyramid scheme called Up Money. We have members of the media here today, thank you. We also have members of the media joining us through WhatsApp line. We also have members of the media who can also join us using the government social media platforms, which is Twitter as well as Facebook. Madam Commissioner, I am going to hand over to you to brief members of the media about Up Money and what have we discovered. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. National Consumer Commission Executive, Deputy National Director of the Public Prosecution and Head of the Asset Forfeiture Unit, Advocate Omar Rabaji, members from the Financial Intelligence Centers, executives thereof, and members of the media and those connecting through WhatsApp and other platforms, and fellow South Africans. Good morning. The national lockdown is as announced by His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa on the 23rd of March as a way to keep the spread of COVID-19 resulted in hundreds of South Africans losing their income or receiving less than what they normally receive. While the country was grappling the effects of COVID-19 and the national lockdown, South Africans took a knock and food security was threatened. Unscrupulous people used the COVID-19 disaster to their advantage and preyed on desperate and unscrupulous and unsuspecting victims. This was the case with the pyramid scheme the Commission is investigating. During the period of the hard lockdown, social media platforms were and are still flooded with schemes promising to double your money over the shortest period of time. They only sell a fantasy. The idea of getting rich quickly always results in most consumers losing their hard-earned cash. While some of these schemes require the smallest joining fee, the initiators of the scheme benefit the most. These pyramid schemes promise unrealistic returns and unfortunately, consumers fall for it. The problem is that by the time we are alerted or any of the regulators is alerted, someone has already lost their money. Initiators and promoters of pyramid, multiplication, quick cash-making schemes, recruitment investments, you name them, are looking at every opportunity to make their next move. Remember, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. How did we find out about Up Money? The Commission noticed trends in the media and was also alerted by other regulators on suspicious activities on Up Money in their respective jurisdictions. The modus operandi of Up Money was to use social media to solicit members of the public to be part of the scheme. In order to receive a promised meat or grocery pack, participants are required to pay a once-off joining fee of 180 Rand to recruit 5 new participants. As is typical of all pyramid schemes, new participants made up the base of the pyramid and provided funding for participants who were recruited prior to them and who occupy higher levels in the scheme. The Up Money pyramid scheme promised participants monthly meat and grocery packs and monthly financial rewards. the Up Money Pyramid Scheme worked as follows. If participant A pays 180 rand and recruits 5 new members who also pay their 180, bringing the total of people in that cell to 6, and their sum that they are paying up to the scheme is 1,080 rand. Then the participant receives a monthly mid-pack. That is level 1. If the same participant now, their recruits, the 5 recruits, each of them now go out to recruit other 5 people, that would mean that the cell now is made up of 25 people, including them, the top 6. That would mean that the cell already has 31 people, and that makes up a contribution of 5,580 rand. So that would mean that the first person that recruited, which is participant A, will receive 500 rand. Then 500 rand and monthly grocery packs, and this makes them to be in level 2. If the entire lowest level of the 25 recruits now will continue to recruit 5 each, that would mean that they'll bring into the cell 125 recruits, bringing the total to the cell to be 156. Together, the payment that they will have made, it will be 28,000. And then participant A will then receive commission of 3,000 rand, and this takes them to level 3. Now, in this scenario, one would ask, what is the role of the commission and its responsibility? The NCC is charged with the responsibility to enforce and carry out its functions assigned to it in terms of the CPA. The policy and the purpose of the CPA is to promote and advance the social and economic welfare of consumers in South Africa by promoting fair business practices, protecting consumers from unconscionable, unfair, unreasonable, unjust, or otherwise improper trade practices, and deceptive, misleading, unfair, and fraudulent conduct. The consumer protection, in terms of Section 43 of the Act, it is a prohibited conduct for any person to directly or indirectly promote or join or participate in any of the following schemes. Could it be a multiplication scheme, a pyramid scheme, or a chain letter arrangement? The prohibition applies to the initiators, recruiters, and all participants. Up Money initiators or directors induced people to participate or to join the scheme and promised high returns based on recruiting other members into the scheme, what they refer to as downliners. When a pyramid scheme is under investigation, all participants are subject to the same investigation. What we did in our investigation is that, pursuant to the suspicious activities that were picked up by also the financial intelligence centers, complaints posted by consumers, the National Consumer Commission deemed it fit to conduct an investigation. It then appointed a team of investigators to dig deeper into the activities of Up Money. Our investigation revealed so far that Up Money is a pyramid scheme. 44% of the money goes directly to directors of Up Money, while only 56% goes to the different levels that then remains to be shared either as profits or to be distributed as profits. Section 42.B of the Consumer Protection Act was contravened by the directors of Up Money Market, the promoters of Up Money, those that are advertising or recruiting on social medias, and all those who joined or are participating in the scheme. Following requests from the National Consumer Commission and the analysis of the Financial Intelligence Center, Up Market's bank statements and established that, and we established the following: that from the 4th of May 2020 to the 2nd of July 2020, Up Money members made over 221,976 deposits, of which what we are saying is that what we have is that we have 221 deposits, 221,976 deposits of 180 each, which was deposited into UpMoney's First National Bank Gold Business Account. These deposits totaled into 42.72 million. Over 14 million was dissipated through points of sale and purchases at various retail stores. An amount of 3.95 million was transferred from the First National Bank account of UpMoney into another account held by a private company, which is Unitco. Unitco and UpMoney Market are linked through the directorship and a business address. One of the directors of UpMoney is a sole director of Unitco and also the signatory of both UpMoney and Unitco bank accounts. Between 24 May and the 15th of June, 3 luxury vehicles, a Hummer, an Audi TT Coupe, and a Jaguar Coupe were purchased. Unitco paid for all these vehicles. They were all not registered as company assets, but they were registered in the private name of one of the directors of UpMoney. Over the last 2 weeks, based on evidence provided by the FIC and the NCC, the Asset Forfeiture Unit obtained preservation orders in the Gauteng Local Division in Johannesburg for the preservation of the following assets. An amount of 18.36 million held in the First National Bank of UpMoney Pty Ltd. An amount of 205,586 rand held in the name of Unitco. This further account was identified by the FIC as having received proceeds from the First National Bank Gold Business Account of UpMarket to the tune of 3.95 million. 3 luxury vehicles, which is the Audi TT, the Hummer, and the Jaguar, which were purchased directly by Unitco, bank account registered in the private name of the director, were also preserved. The cooperation of the Financial Intelligence Center, Asset Forfeiture Unit, and the NCC is testimony that when government entities join forces, they make a formidable front that serves as a deterrent to unscrupulous people and ensures that crime will not pay. The NCC would like to remind consumers that as a participant or a member of a pyramid scheme, you are legally responsible for claims you make about a scheme, a company, its product, and the business opportunities it offers. The 3 entities, the NCC, the FIC, and the AFU, will continue with their efforts to suppress this deceptive and fraudulent conduct and try to protect some innocent people from being swindled out of their hard-earned money. Members of the public are being warned not to participate in schemes such as this, which make unrealistic claims and encourages people to part with their money while directors of the schemes are enriching themselves. The NCC wants the public to be aware of schemes they are joining, as in this case of UpMoney. The preliminary finding is that the scheme was established to enrich the directors, as 44% of the contributions were solely used by the directors in the form of banking or administrative charges, making it unsustainable to pay all the promised commissions and buy grocery packs without recruiting new members. Assets that were bought are personal or they are benefiting only the directors. The telling signs of such scheme is that if a scheme would promise you big returns that are very high, especially if it is above 20% of the repo rate, then you should know that it is a pyramid scheme. If it asks you to recruit more members for you to earn your profit, then you know that it could be really a pyramid scheme. And then payments would only be made if you recruit not from other profits or any other activities. You only advance into a higher hierarchy through recruitment of others. And the scheme is not registered with the Financial Sector Conduct Authority as a financial service. The NCC is pleading with you as a responsible citizen and a member of the community that you should be honest in your dealings. If you recruit other people into prohibited or illegal activities, think of the relationships that may be severed, trust that may never be restored, but mostly the economic hardships that others would suffer and may not be able to recover from in this lifetime. Is it worth it? Especially during this period when every rent counts and people's sustainability is being threatened. As regulators in this space, we are warning you that it is prohibited to participate in a pyramid scheme, and you will continue to suppress such activities where possible. I thank you. Thank you.
All right, apologies about that. Thank you so much, Acting Commissioner. I think that was a mouthful. We understand that it is prohibited to participate in a pyramid scheme. We also understand that the National Prosecuting Authority is playing a role to ensure that everybody, if not the directors, are prosecuted. I'm going to request Advocate Oma Rabaji to come and tell us about the criminal aspect or criminal element and the investigation thereafter against Abmani. Thank you, Advocate.
Greetings to the Acting Commissioner, Ms. Tebi Mabuza. Greetings as well, colleague from the Commission, Consumer Commission, senior officials of the NCC, FIC, and the NPA, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored that we meet here today to demonstrate that as a country, we should not allow crime to pay. As law enforcement agencies and regulators, we have moved rapidly in this case. We put our efforts together in a collaborative effort, as the President had announced a week ago, to rescue 230 people who were being swindled unbeknown to them. I think I need to emphasize here that we need to continue to cooperate as various state agencies if we are to win against crime and corruption in this country. People are under attack from COVID-19 pandemic, but they are also under attack from criminals who want to rob them of their last cent. People are desperate, they are losing their livelihood. I think we need to be vigilant because people are going to be probed to unscrupulous predators who are cashing in on this pandemic. I'm here to explain that as the National Prosecuting Authority, Asset Forfeiture Unit, we brought an application to the High Court of South Africa in Johannesburg, South Gauteng High Division, to freeze the assets of the people, of the directors of these companies who want to rob our people of their livelihood. The success of this application is directly related to the productive and professional working relationship that exists between the NCC, the FIC, South African Police Service, and the AFU. Now, if we look at what has happened here, and from listening to what the Acting Commissioner was explaining, we've got almost 9 contraventions that has occurred here. So we brought an application in terms of Chapter 6 of the Prevention of Organized Crime Act 121 of 1998, which is shortly called POCA, which deals with civil recovery of property, which is the process of unlawful activities, property which represents the process of unlawful activities, instrumentality of an offense referred to in Schedule 1 of POCA. So if you listen to what we have obtained in the freezing order, the 18 million, the 200,000, the 3 motor vehicles, these are all process of unlawful activities or process of crime. So the Chapter 6 civil procedure provisions provide for a 2-stage process in terms of how we finally forfeit all this property and the money to the state. First, we go to court and obtain a freezing order. We've got 2 freezing orders. One we obtained on the 23rd, the second one we obtained on the 28th, because by that time we had not traced all the assets. So we obtained 2 freezing orders, and it's to make sure that no one is going to deal with this property. Neither the directors of this company are going to deal with this property, because it's to secure the assets, to ensure that there's no dissipation pending the second stage, which is a forfeiture application, which we're going to bring after 90 days of obtaining the first order, which is the preservation order. So, so we were satisfied that there are reasonable grounds to believe that this property is the process of unlawful activities, as the acting director has explained, that this is process of unlawful activities. If you look at the 9 contraventions that I've referred to, it's racketeering provisions in terms of Section 2 of POCA, money laundering in the sense that they concealed the origin of these funds by moving them around between the 2 accounts. You can also notice that what has happened, that they've contravened Section 5, Section 6, and Section 43(2) of the Consumer Protection Act, Section 22 of Companies Act, because these people were not selling a product. This is reckless and fraudulent conduct of business. This is fraud, this is theft. But it's also contravention of the Banks Act and the Financial Services Act, in that they don't have a license to be obtaining cash or getting deposits from the public. So the criminal case is still continuing. Very soon there'll be arrests, and as I've said, the asset forfeiture unit, after 90 days, we are going to have this property forfeited to the state. I want to recognize all the law enforcement agencies and the regulators, in particular Warrant Officer Noche from South African Police Services, who was the first one to get notice, or a whistleblower brought this matter to his attention from East London, that it doesn't look like there's something right here. Look at this. And he then reported the matter to the commissioners. We've had Consumer Commission, and Velaphi Mabuza from the NCC then investigated this matter. The matter was further investigated by the FIC, Stephanie van Heerden, who then recognized that in terms of the movement of the fund, this is money laundering, this is theft, this is a pyramid scheme which is in contravention of the law. So I want to emphasize here that as law enforcement agencies, we are not going to allow the criminals to run amok. Whilst our people are suffering like this from this pandemic of COVID, they also then try to fleece them of the little bit that they have. In due course, of course, the matter will be referred to the National Prosecution Services for charges to be brought against the directors of the 2 companies that are referred to. We in Asset Forfeiture Unit use a civil standard. We don't have to wait for a criminal case to be concluded. As long as there are reasonable grounds, which is a civil standard, that these are processes of crime, we proceed to freeze the assets and forfeit them to the state. Where there are victims, the money is eventually returned to the victims, or if there are no victims, we then send the money is then deposited into what is called a criminal asset recovery account. Obviously, each case is decided upon its own merits. I thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Advocate. I think it's pretty much clear. We are going to open 2 rounds of questions, starting from colleagues who are here. We will then afterwards go to the WhatsApp line. Tagalani is going to assist us with the WhatsApp line. Yes, all right. Please, you give us your name and your media house. Kaya.
Hi, good morning. It's Kaya here from ENCA. I just want to understand, just in terms of the current status of the pyramid scheme. Has it been suspended? And just in terms of now the money of the victims, how soon are they going to get the money back? And maybe just as a last question, in terms of the 2 directors, have they been arrested already? Thank you.
All right. Gerhard?
Good morning, Gerhard Pretorius, also from the NTA. I just, on a point of clarity, Commissioner, you spoke about an increase in this time in pyramid schemes. Are you investigating other pyramid schemes? For instance, a lot has been said about, for instance, Crowd One, etc., etc. Can you take us through? Is there more investigations? How many of these pyramid schemes are you investigating currently? I had a second question which I just lost now. It's fine. Thank you.
It's fine. It's fine. You can always go back to that question. Thank you so much, colleagues. Madam Commissioner, over to you. All right. Mr. Joseph Silolo is going to take some of the questions. Thank you, sir.
Good morning. To Gerard's question, indeed, we are investigating a number of the schemes. The ones that the investigations at advanced stage, there's 6 of them. We will not mention their names. It is sufficient to say that we are investigating them. To Kaya's question, the pyramid scheme up money specifically is not yet suspended, but the actions that we've taken in of themselves suspend the pyramid scheme. As it was already stated by the Commissioner, in terms, now you see we have 2 CPAs, so for disambiguation purposes, I'm referring to the Consumer Protection Act and not the Criminal Procedures Act. So the Consumer Protection Act says no one. It says a person shall not participate, promote, or join, or enter. So that is prohibited. Now, everyone in Up Money has joined or promoted or participated. So everyone there has committed an illegal conduct, an unlawful conduct, by joining the scheme. Now, in our prosecutions, we will be prosecuting everyone. And what we look for is a declaration of prohibited conduct plus an imposition of a fine. The law states that the fine is 10% of a person's annual income or 1 million, whichever is the greater. So everyone who is in the scheme will be prosecuted and a fine will be levied. Now, the funds that have already been preserved are funds that were deposited by the participants. Those funds will not be refunded because they participated in an unlawful activity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to respond to the question from Kaya in terms of how soon can the victims be compensated. The second question was, are the two directors arrested? I think Mr. Silolo has alluded to that. They're not yet arrested. The investigation is in its final stages between the South African Police Services. The Reserve Bank has also investigated the matter. The FIC and the National Consumer Council is investigating the matter. So they're not yet arrested. So the arrest will be made soon as the investigation is completed. Then the question around victims being compensated. So as I explained, we've got a two-stage process in terms of freezing assets and finally forfeiting them to the state. I also said that each case is looked at upon its own merit. If you are an actual victim that has been defrauded, the state is not going to withhold that compensation or your money. It will not withhold it from you. If you look at this case, each participant had to contribute 180 rands, and we've got over 230,000 participants who willingly participated in unlawful activity. When you look at the merits of this case, this is where the money is going to be forfeited to the state to continue to fight crime. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Can we take WhatsApp or take questions from our WhatsApp group? Takalani is going to assist us with that.
Thank you, Petro. I have two questions right now from our WhatsApp line. And the first question is coming from, or the first two questions are coming from Maya Fisher-French from City Press. And the first one is, it is not often we see successful actions taken against pyramid schemes. What enabled the authorities to move quickly this time? And the follow-up question still from Maya is, what will the process be for people to claim back their money? And we have a question from Humutso Emudise from Eyewitness News, who said, I understand you have launched a similar investigation into crowd. How far are you with that? And we have Jan Kronje from Fin24, and the question is, can you please clarify whether participants will be charged for taking place in unlawful activity, or whether they will be getting their money back? I have two different explanations today. Thank you. That's it for now, but thanks.
Thank you, Takalani. Another question, Acting Commissioner from Humutso Modise from Eyewitness News, goes as follows. How far are you in your investigation into Crowd One? And Zolani from George wants to know if the Commission is investigating WhatsApp giftings and what's the Commission's take when it comes to WhatsApp giftings. Are they pyramid schemes or are just giftings? I'm going to hand over to the both of you, Mr. Silolo and Acting Commissioner. Thank you.
When it comes to WhatsApp gifting, and the question is specifically say, what is the Commission's take on it? The law says an arrangement, agreement, practice, or scheme is a chain letter scheme, and that chain letter is prohibited as well. If it has various levels of participation, existing participants canvass and recruit new members, or each successive newly recruited participant upon joining is required to pay a certain consideration which is distributed to one, some, or all of the previous existing participants, irrespective of whether the new participant receives any goods or services in exchange for that consideration, and that participant is assigned to the lowest level of participation. And upon recruiting further new participants, or upon those new participants recruiting further new participants, and so on in continual succession, a participant in the may participate in the distribution of the consideration paid by any such new recruit and moves to a higher level. What we know about WhatsApp gifting is that when a person joins, is assigned a low level, and then that person must then recruit, and their money is used to pay the existing people who are higher up in the levels, and then they must recruit. Once they recruit, they move a level up. That's what is called a chain letter in the Consumer Protection Act. It is prohibited conduct. Therefore, this WhatsApp gifting is an illegal activity. Now, the challenge with the WhatsApp gifting is that it happens in a closed community on people's cell phones and so on. Participants do not willingly lodge complaints. The only time they'll lodge a complaint is when they have now lost their money. If we do receive complaints, we will indeed look into it. That is not to say we are unable, where we have information at our disposal, to then investigate on our own accord. But as it stands, we have not received complaints. We have received information as to how they work, but we have not received information on a specific group. I quickly wish to add that stokvel are actually regulated in South Africa in terms of the Banks Act and in terms of the National Credit Act. These two acts contain the exact same definition of a stokvel. In short, it is a rotating financial scheme where people contribute money and they're contributing towards a specific goal, be it social, be it to buy whatever it is that they want to buy. But typically, a stokvel will lend out money on behalf of its members and to its members, and the members participate in the profits of that stokvel, and the members nominate management of that stokvel. So it's not a situation where you go in, they tell you we have a stokvel and this is a manager. The members themselves nominate the management of that stokvel, and they rely on self-imposed regulations. Now, when you look into these stokvels, the alleged stokvels, you find that there is no profit share, and the emphasis is on recruitment. There was a question that asked if participants will be charged. In terms of the Consumer Protection Act, yes. We will be taking action against all participants and promoters those that went to social media to promote the scheme, we will be taking action against them. Pumuzo asks about progress on Crowd 1. Crowd 1 has been served with our investigation certificate. The investigation is ongoing. We believe that we should be able to release our findings in about 3 months or so, because it is quite a complicated investigation. Maya asks what made us move quickly. Advocate Rabaji mentioned a particular warrant officer, Noche. He was the first warrant officer to investigate the matter and supply many regulators with his findings on the matter. With that, we had sufficient cause to move. That's what made us move quickly. And when you look at the figures the commissioner gave, from 4 May to 2 July, 42 million went into the scheme. And when you look at the flow of funds to related entities, you then understand the magnitude of the scam. We had to move swiftly to bring it to an end. I don't know if I missed any other question. Okay, thank you.
There's a question that says, how can people claim back? What is the process to claim back? Now, I want us to distinguish between a victim as well as a participant who knowingly engage in prohibited conduct, as my colleague explained. A victim claims back from the criminal asset recovery account, as I've explained, after we have finalized our asset forfeiture proceedings. So with this scheme, this pyramid scheme, I think, as I explained, each case is looked upon its own merits. It seems that most participants knowingly engaged in this prohibited conduct, so they cannot be in the same breath be victims. I want to latch on to the question around swift action. If we as regulators and law enforcement agencies act in a collaborative fashion, we will be able to act on a crime that's been committed within 2 months. Because if you look at the FIC regulations, the minute they assess movements of funds in an account, like they assessed movement, lots and lots of transactions, lots of 180 rands being paid into this account, and they freeze in terms of their act, their account. We as asset forfeiture unit in the National Prosecuting Authority, we've got only 7 days within which to bring a high court application. So hence I congratulated the 3 investigators who worked in this case, because they did sterling work. When Warrant Officer Noche distributed his findings to all the law enforcement agencies and regulators, who are able to move in swiftly, given the various legislation that enable us to act. So it's because of the collaborative manner that the President also emphasized that we are able to act swiftly against crime and corruption. Thank you.